एकम अक्षरम हृदि निरंतरम भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम हृदय कुहर मध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम् देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तभावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भातः कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं नमो रमण. In this the Friday satsang, I am standing in for Dilip ji. I'll be reading from Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi randomly for about 10 minutes, and that will be followed by Atma Vichara of 20 minutes, and Akka's talk will conclude the satsang from 7:30 onwards. We begin this evening satsang by taking talk number 317, 6th January 1937. 6th January 1937, talk number 317. Mr. Parkhi. Many visitors here tell me that they get visions or thought currents from you. I am here for the last month and a half, and still I have not the slightest experience of any kind. Is it because I am unworthy of your grace? If so, I feel it disgraceful that I, being Vasishta Kulotpanna of the lineage of Vasishta, should not have your grace, while far off foreigners should have it. Will you kindly suggest some prayaschitta, method of expiation, for removing this disgrace? Bhagavan, visions and thought currents are had according to the state of mind. It depends on the individuals and not upon the universal presence. Moreover, they are immaterial. What matters is peace of mind. So the questioner starts off with a very self-righteous way of putting it, to put it mildly. He's saying that I am such a deserving candidate, but you have not given me any anubhava. And that tells us what our approach should be to sadhana and Bhagavan, because Bhagavan says visions and thought currents are had according to the state of mind. Whatever state of mind we have reached, whatever is deserving, that is what we will get. It depends on the individuals and not upon the universal presence. Bhagavan's grace there is constant, he is present with the questioner. Moreover, they are immaterial. These experiences are immaterial, says Bhagavan. So he takes away any kind of criticism that can be assumed from the master. He takes away by saying these are not necessary. What matters is the peace of mind. Devotee, peace of mind is the result of trance. How is trance got? Bhagavan, trance is only absence of thought. That state prevails in sleep. Do you have enduring peace of mind on that account? So, Bhagavan removes one more demand from the mind of the questioner. One more thought arises that everybody says that they go into trance. And the peace is the result of trance, not having come to the Sannidhi of Guru, but result of trance that one gets. Bhagavan says, trance is only absence of thought. That state prevails in sleep. Do you have any enduring peace on that account? Don't run after that also. Don't run after any special experiences. Don't run after the anubhava of trance also. Devotee. It is said in the journal maintained in the ashramam that trance is necessary. Bhagavan, trance is not something apart to be got anew. Your natural state is that of trance. So Bhagavan says that trance is not something that he has to get anew. It is only his natural state. So instead of demanding something, he should get to the sadhana of removing whatever is unnatural, removing whatever is extraneous. Then what is natural and present as the source will reveal itself. Devotee, but I do not feel it. Maharishi, the fact of your contrary belief is the obstruction. The devotee says, you are saying that it is my natural state, but I am not feeling it. And Bhagavan says, the fact of your contrary belief is the obstruction. It may appear to be a simple statement from Bhagavan, but it is not. Whenever somebody is asked, or whenever a sadhaka is asked, or he asks himself, have I realized what Bhagavan is saying? Suppose the answer comes as no. No, I have not realized. Then immediately one should make the inquiry, for whom is this thought that I have not realized? Now, the importance of that is that one is judging the whole of one's sadhana. So, this judgment that I have not reached is a single thought that stands on behalf of all the sadhana. And if this thought is removed, then all the sadhana falls in place and the grace reveals itself. So it is not an ordinary statement from Bhagavan. He would have made it many times in the talks. Whenever somebody says, I have not realized the self, he will say, Bhagavan will say, this is the obstruction. And in my initial days of reading talks, I would feel, what is this? Bhagavan is saying just this one thought that I have not realized the self. Somebody says, and he says, you remove that, that's enough. Is it as simple as that? But it is not like that. The statement we make that I have not realized the self is not an ordinary statement because it sums up our whole journey. All the walkings, all the tapas, all the dhyana, all the pujas we have done, we are summing up by that one statement. Now, in Drigdrishya Viveka, that is called as Sabda Anuvida Samadhi. Drishya Anuvida Samadhi means many thoughts are there, and then we have to go to the source. When many thoughts are summed up in one thought, then the going to the source of the thought and the ego becomes a singular step. That is why whenever Bhagavan says this, that somebody feels he has not realized the self, immediately when Bhagavan asks, this is the obstruction for you to realize the self, then really one has to latch on to that and inquire, for whom is this feeling? I have not realized the self. Because you can understand that every sadhaka, when he has not completed the journey, when he asks this question, have I realized the self as Bhagavan, he'll get that singular thought, no, I have not realized. Immediately you should ask the question, for whom is this thought that I have not realized the self? When that singular last obstruction is removed, then the natural state rises and shines, says Bhagavan. We'll sit in Atma Uchara for 20 minutes from here, and then Akka will give her regular speech. Revatima, you'll be able to help us out with the timing?
Yes, Uncle, I'll do it.
Thank you. Namo Ramana. I request our President, Dr. Sarada, to give her remarks. Namo Ramana ka.
Namo Ramana, sir. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we have been meditating on Bhagavan's teachings, on the practice of Atma Vichara, and have also been blessed to sit for Atma Vichara practice, where Nandakumarji often reminds us that whenever we sit for Atma Vichara practice, Bhagavan is there, he is present. Of course, he is present always, everywhere, and in fact, he alone is present, but there are spaces, there are experiences where we feel that presence in a stronger, in a more powerful manner. And Atma Vichara is certainly one such space, one such experience, because Bhagavan is the self. And in Atma Vichara, we are trying to be directly in touch with him. And this effort is made possible only by his grace. So it's very evident that that grace is working very powerfully when any effort is made to get back to it. Because Bhagavan says that even to remember grace, grace must already be functioning. Even that we remember grace, even that we remember Bhagavan, even that we remember Atma Vichara, it means grace is already functional. So here, in this part of the sharing, in this part of the satsang, we are meditating on Bhagavan's light on different aspects which are directly connected to the practice of self-inquiry, and some of them which have an important bearing on the practice of self-inquiry. Here in this chapter of Ramana Gita, we have been meditating on the chapters of Ramana Gita, on the verses of Ramana Gita, which have been compiled in Sanskrit based on the questions and answers of questions of devotees to Bhagavan and his answers to them. And this has been compiled in 18 chapters, just like the Bhagavad Gita, by Ganapati Muni. And we are in the 5th chapter, which is the chapter Hridaya Vidya, Science of the Heart. And in this chapter, there was no question. Bhagavan of his own accord. Like in chapter 2, we get Bhagavan's Eka Shloki, the Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahmamatram Yaha Mahamiti Sakshat Atma Rupena Bhati Hridi Vishamanasa Swam Chinvata Majjata Va Pavana Chalana Rodhat Atmanishto Bhavatam. That was an Eka Shloki. And the remaining verses in that chapter, chapter 2, were the Muni's extolling this Eka Shloki and its significance in our practice. In this chapter, the entire description, all the verses are a direct explanation by Bhagavan. He begins by speaking about the heart. And he begins by saying that the heart is the source of all thoughts, all experience of anyone who believes that he or she is embodied, of an embodied being. The thoughts, all the thoughts of an embodied being spring from the heart, and any description of the heart is merely a concept, says Bhagavan. Having said that, then he goes on to give other explanations, further explanations, for us to understand that anything even the most beautiful words of Bhagavan himself, the words cannot be the Anubhava. The words are supports. The words can take us to the Anubhava, but the words are not themselves Anubhava, because words are manifest. Any word is manifest. So Bhagavan has told us in Ekam Aksharam Hridi Nirantaram Bhasate Swayam Likhyate Katam. Who can write about it? And he says that in Ashtakam he says, "Oh Adi Guru Dakshinamurti, you yourself explained this only in silence. And that's why you stand as Arunachala revealing the truth silently." However, the compassion of that very self makes it express itself in words for our sake. And these words are obviously concepts. They are supports. They help us to go beyond the words. So having told us that, then Bhagavan starts describing what the heart is, the spiritual heart, as he called. What is this heart he is talking about? What is this, which is the source that he is talking about? He goes on to say that it is the source of the I thought. And it is not the Anahata Chakra. It is not the physical blood pumping organ. This is to the right. Tasya dakshinato dhama hritpite naiva vamataha. And what happens? Tasmat pravahati jyotis sahasraram shushumnaya. From the heart, the light of awareness goes to the sahasrara, the mind center. And atmastasya sahasraram. Then what happens? Tasmat pravahati jyotis sahasraram. Sarvam deham sahasrarat. And from the mind center, from the Sahasrara, it pervades the entire body, and then samsari manujo bhavet. Taf prapashyan vibhedena. And the seeing through this light of awareness, the world as apart from himself, as apart from the individual becomes bound. So what is the path Bhagavan is saying? The one is that this is the outward path, but you can retrace it to the source. From the world of thoughts, take it back to the source, to the mind source, the Sahasrara, that is the I thought. Pull back the attention to the I thought, and from the I thought, pull back to the attention to its source, the heart, and abide there. This is what Bhagavan is saying. When he is explaining the process by which it is coming out, one can understand how he is giving us the reverse process in self-inquiry. Then he says, if one is abiding in that light, Atmastasya Sahasraram, Shuddham Jyotirmayam Bhavet. If the mind is abiding in the self, it just is pure light. Tatra jivenna sankalpo. There is no thought over there. There is no sankalpa over there. He's not saying there is no vritti. He says tatra jivenna sankalpo. There is no sankalpa in such a one. When the mind is absorbed in the heart, atmastasya, when the sahasrara or the mind or the I thought is established in the heart, atmastha, when it becomes atmastha, atmasthasya sahasraram shuddham, it becomes pure. Pure, why? Because there is nothing apart from it. There is nothing apart from the self. What is impurity? Impurity is a mixture of something which is not of the nature of that, the original essence of that object or that experience. Milk is impure if you add water into it. Water is impure if you put some other things into the water or dust into the water. It becomes impure. That which is not water, when it gets mixed with water, water becomes impure. That which is not milk, when it gets mixed with the milk becomes impure. That which is not the self, when it becomes mixed with the self is seen as impure. What is that not the self? The feeling that it is not the self. Today we had a very beautiful explanation by Bhagavan saying the thought that I am not abiding in the self, the thought that I am not the self, but I am a body, I am the mind, that thought is what makes us feel I am not experiencing the self. Who is that I who is not experiencing the self? An embodied entity. I think I am an embodied entity who is not experiencing the self. But if this thought is questioned and one gets back to the source, then there is no other in the self, and therefore it is Shuddham. Shuddham Jyotirmayam. It is pure light. It is full of light. It is all-pervading light. Tatra jivenna sankalpo. There is nothing further to be done. There is no sankalpa. That's why Bhagavan has said in Upadeshasaram, Krityamasti kim. Aham kritimyo lasati krisitva kim tasya karyam parishishtamasti. He says in Sadarshana. What is left for him to do? There is nothing left. So tatra jivenna sankalpo. Very sweetly he says, if a sankalpa wants to rise of its own accord, yadi sandhityata patet, if it even tries to approach the one who is abiding in the self, the sankalpa simply falls. Yadi sandhityata patet, it will just fall. There is no room for any more sankalpa. What is a sankalpa? A sankalpa is a motive, the motivation to do something, to get somewhere, to reach something. So Bhagavan says, even the thought that I must reach the self is not needed. Because who is the one who is to reach? He says, question that also in self-inquiry. Who is the one who wants to reach the self? Who is the one who feels I am away from the self? There is not even a motive to get back, but only the questioning of the separation. If any ashuddha bhavana is there, if any rising away from the heart is there, it is questioned and turned back to the source. So tatra jivenna sankalpo yadi sannidhyata patet. So whenever any sankalpa rises in us, we can become aware, as Bhagavan says also in Ashtakam, Indraham enum ninaivenir pira ondrum indru aduvare ninaivelil. If a thought arises, that means already a sankalpa has arisen. There is a thought. I want something. Unless I want something, unless I seek something, there is no need of any thought. Every thought is an indication of desire and desire alone. The desire to be manifest, the desire to be an identity, and thereby to hold on to a thought. The thought may be absolutely meaningless. It may not appear to be a desire. We classify our thoughts. We say these are thoughts about A thing. These are thoughts about B things. These are thoughts which are desires. These are thoughts which are not desires. I don't have any desire for this thing, but I'm just thinking about it. We may think so. We may think, I don't desire it at all, but I just have a thought about it. And that's why Bhagavan gives the story of, he gives the story of that Nakira, the great yogi. He gives that story where Nakira he was in dhyana, and When he was in dhyana, of course, there was no sankalpa, there was no thought. And he opened his eyes. And when he opened his eyes, there was a river flowing in front of him. And there was a tree above his head. And that from the tree, a leaf fell into the river. And that leaf changed into a fish. And that fish turned into a bird. And it flew away. And what did Nakira do? He saw this happening. He didn't even wonder. He didn't get amazed. If we were to see something like this happening, we would have wondered, what is it? How is it? How is this happening? So many thoughts might have filled our minds. But Nakira only observed it, and Bhagavan says he became yoga bhrashta. He fell from his yoga because he saw a happening. He observed something outside of himself. Tatra jive na sankalpo. There is no sankalpa even to watch, even to observe, even to know. Nandakumarji often says, even the aham spurana, right? When you experience the aham spurana, which is the shuddha manas, don't even ask anything of the aham spurana. So the sankalpa, the need to get something, the need to get somewhere is an indication that I am not of the nature of bliss. I need to get it from somewhere. I need to see something. I need to perceive something. I need to experience something. We had the devotee today asking Bhagavan, I am not getting any experiences. I think I need to experience something in order to have that bliss of the self. But it is natural. So Bhagavan says that when sankalpas arise, it means the mind is not stationed in the self. One has to get it back to the self. And if one mind is abiding in the self, then no sankalpa will arise. Even if he says, even if vijnayamana vishayam sannikarshena yadyapi, even if experiences, sensory experiences and other experiences happen because of their nearness. When a Jivan Mukta opens his eyes, he may see things, he may hear things. When he is moving in the world, he would see and experience objects because of their proximity. Sannikarshena yadyapi na bhavet yoga bhangaya. Na bhavet yoga bhangaya bhedasya grahani manaha. There is no division in the mind. Because there is no division in the mind, there will be no moving away from the self. And Bhagavan explains in the next verse that this is called the Sahaja Samadhi. Grinhatopi sthiraikadhi sahaja sthitiruchyate. When the mind is thus absorbed in the self and never moves away, when the experiencing of objects does not disturb this abidance in the self in any manner, it is called Sahaja Sthiti. Nirvikalpa Samadhistu Vishaya Sannidho Bhavet. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, no objects are perceived, says Bhagavan. Nirvikalpa, no objects are perceived at all. There is no perception of Vishaya asannidhau bhavet. So the objects, Vishaya is objects are not present at all in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But in Sahaja Samadhi, though the objects may be present because of their proximity, they do not disturb the experience of the self. And that is the state which Bhagavan is talking about, the state of steady self-abidance, Sahaja Nirvikalpa. Sahaja Samadhi is what Bhagavan is saying is our real nature. It is undisturbed by any of the events that are happening. And then Bhagavan says, this is because everything is actually contained in the heart. When we know that everything is contained in the heart, how can there be any moving away from the heart? Andam vapushi nishesham, nishesham hridayam vapuhu, tasmadandasya sarvasya hridayam rupa sangraha. He says, this entire world is contained in the body. He says this again in Sadarshanam we find Ulladhanarpada, Sadarshanam. Yat panchakoshatmakamasti deham tadantara kim bhuvanam chakasti deham vina panchavidam tadetat pashyanti keva bhuvanam bhanantu. Can there be a perception of the world without the body? The body which is consisting of 5 sheets, he describes the body there. Here again he is saying that the entire world is contained in the body. Because when we do not experience a body, in deep sleep, we are not experiencing a world. In dream and waking, when we feel we have a body, that is when we can see the world. So Bhagavan says, if there is no body, there is no world. So the entire world is actually contained in the body. Contained in the body because only the experiencing of the body can give us an experiencing of the world. So you can imagine how many worlds there are in one sense and how many worlds there are not in another sense. Because when I have a body, there is a world. If I do not have the body, this entire world is gone. So nobody else is also experiencing any world. When my world disappears, all the others in my world who are experiencing the world have also disappeared in deep sleep. So everything is contained for me within my body, for each one of us within our body. And the Bhagavan says the secret is the body is contained in the heart. It is not that the heart is in the body. Although I told you it is on the right side. It is a spiritual center. I told you that. But you know what is the real truth? The real truth is that the body itself is contained in the heart. Bhagavan says in Ekatma Panchakam, Tanno Tanu Virika Tana Jada Udalan Tannul Irupada Tanunnu Mannavan Tannul Tanu Virika. The body is in the self. The self is not in the body. But why do we seek it in the body? Why does Bhagavan give this source of the heart, a location within the body? Because Sadhu Om Swami says, Ingu kanda piragudan irpadellam avarmayam. Yengumulla kadavulai idaya guhayil kaanalam. Ingu kanda piragudan irpadellam avarmayam. Because for us to understand that this body is within the self is difficult because our entire universe is, as Bhagavan says, for the present, when I'm embodied, then my entire world is within the body only. I can only experience it through the body. I can only experience it in relation to the body. Therefore, Bhagavan in great compassion, understanding our limitation of being bonded to the body, of being a samsari, gives us this location within the body for us to turn and look at it as the source of the I thought and merge there. And when one merges there at the source through the question, whence am I? Where from does this I thought arise? Just ask and watch it subside. Because when one does not hold on to any sankalpa, when one does not think of any thoughts as worthwhile, when one does not give life to them by making them into sankalpas, through the question for whom are these thoughts, and then when one does not allow the I also to remain in a state of identification by questioning it, either asking who am I or whence am I actually, I rise and disappear, where from? In this manner, when one traces it back to the source, the heart, then everything is seen to be or would be experienced to be contained within that, and the boundless nature of the heart would be experienced. And what Bhagavan says in the beginning, that all that is said before this, all that is said as by way of description is only a concept, is only an aid, a support, a concession to our belief that we are embodied. This fact would reveal itself by the grace of Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana. Namo Ramana. I'll say the prayer. Apara Satchit Sukhavari Rasher Yasyormi Matram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chinta Vihinam Hridi Chintayami. Namo Ramana to everyone. Thank you.